Kathy Hochul is the first woman to become governor of New York. Now she wants New Yorkers to give her a full 4-year term. The point starts right now. Running the state of New York is not for the faint of heart, but Kathy Hochul says she's got heart, soul, and the ability to keep the state going in the right direction. New Yorkers will decide that when they go to the polls in just 2 days. Governor, thank you very much for being here today. I want to start out right at the top. What do you think has happened? In June, you were up by 24 points. Now Real Clear Politics says it's a toss-up. Why is this happening?
Well, there's been a lot going on, but all I know is in a state like New York, when Democrats turn out, we'll win. And we're energizing women who are Republicans and independents on the issue of abortion. They know I'm the one who's going to protect it. So I think what you're talking about is a trend that's happening all over the country. A lot of anxiety out there, but we feel very comfortable about our chances on Tuesday.
So your opponent, Lee Zeldin, has made crime the focal point of his campaign. Every time that there's any kind of event, a shooting, a stabbing, a subway incident, he goes there afterwards. Is it fair for him to say that you're soft on crime?
No, it is not fair. But this is an election, and truth becomes collateral damage, especially when you're running against someone who really has, ascribed to the Donald Trump philosophies. He's one of Donald Trump's staunchest supporters. Those are his words. I even asked during my most recent debate, do you think Donald Trump was a great president? And he went and listed all of Donald Trump's accomplishments.
But never said that he said he was a great president.
I said, well, I'll take that as a resounding yes, and I was not disputed. So we didn't want to turn away all his mega Republican supporters and donors. That's what's going on here too. So no, I'm not soft on crime. For God's sakes, no one's been working harder than I am to keep the people of this state safe. And that's not a campaign issue. If you look back to what I spoke about in my State of the State address in January.
January 6th, I was with you when you were at the subway with Mayor Adams.
That's right. The day after I gave my address on January 5th, I said, there's an anxiety out there. We need to work together to focus on public safety. I said that in January. Next day, in the subways, as you said, Marcia, with Mayor Adams announcing for the first time literally in decades, you had the governor of New York willing to put state resources to help local law enforcement. And it was unprecedented, but I also knew that something more needed to be done to offset what is happening all across America, major crime wave. So it is not a new issue to me. I am tough on crime because we have demonstrated when we work together with the legislature, we can get the toughest gun safety laws in America. Lee Zeldin opposes every one of them. Just ask him everything, including taking AR-15s out of the hands of 18-year-olds. He wants to arm teachers. He wants people in subways carrying guns. My God, what kind of New York is he imagining here? That's just insanity.
So do you really think that what's going on is what you call the Republican conspiracy to scare people into voting for Republicans and to convince people that Democrats don't have what it takes to keep them safe?
They're all in the same talking point. Every one of them across this country. There's battleground races in Congress. Even the mayor of Los Angeles, we have races for Senate and governor. They're all over the country. They're saying the same thing. They're running the same ads, hundreds of millions of dollars of ads. In fact, even the ads that run against me, here in New York, Lee Zeldin used pictures of crimes committed in California or crimes committed before I became governor years ago. So they're all on the same page about how they think they can win by creating the sense of fear. But it is the Democratic states where the crime is lower than it is in Republican states. And I'm not going to say that crime is under control in New York. I'm saying we're focused on it. But compare us to other states. Compare our deaths by firearm. It is about 5 per 100,000. In the Republican states that don't have the same laws on the books, it's 4, 5, 6 times higher. So I just deal in data and facts, but also I understand the human emotion around this. And that's why I'm unrelenting in my pursuit of finding every way we can help to support local law enforcement, funding the police. And Lee Zeldin, as a member of Congress, had a chance to vote to increase funding for law enforcement. He didn't even show up to vote. I tripled the amount of money going for law enforcement. So there's a lot of rhetoric over here. I've got results and action and a determination to continue focusing on this.
So if you could talk directly to Lee Zeldin, how would you call him out on the crime issue?
Stop lying. Stop lying about it. Stop trying to pretend that you're tough on crime when you're in reality soft on guns. The most heinous crime is murder and shootings. And that's what scares people to their core. And he refuses to do anything. He said he would not have supported the red flag laws. We just had an incident in Buffalo days ago where because someone saw someone say they might do something in a school, they went to that person's house and found a cache of guns. Lee Zeldin opposes that, the ability for the law enforcement to take things in their hands and not just solve a crime. Let's prevent the crimes. Let's prevent crimes. That's what I'm working on.
So if Lee Zeldin becomes governor, what will happen to the MTA and the millions of riders who depend on mass transit every single day?
It'll have no funding source. I mean, he's already talking about cutting taxes for millionaires and billionaires. He said this. He's going to cut the taxes. Now, you have to say, what's the collateral damage? How do you run the state? The MTA is the lifeline of the city. And we have to make sure that we have the funding sources through congestion pricing and other sources. But when he eliminates all that, how do you make the investments? How do you fund the capital plan? It's over 100 years old. It doesn't just run by itself. You have to keep investing in it. So it's short-sighted. It just shows you throw out anything, you hope it lands, and there's no real sound policies. It's all about the sound bites.
So if Lee Zeldin became governor, there will not be a good mass transit system?
No, it'll decline quickly because he won't have the resources to do it. It has to be done, absolutely.
So also talking about the MTA, it is facing a fiscal cliff. It's facing what has been estimated as a $4 billion gap, which would possibly mean that there could be a fare hike in the spring. If you were governor, would you be able to find the money to prevent a fare hike? You know, what can be done about that? Is it a good idea to raise the fares? Because the fare box is about half the revenue of the MTA.
You don't raise the price of a product when you're trying to sell it. We're at about 3.8 million people, which is significant, double what we were a year ago. So I was on the subway literally this morning, and there's people on it, and they feel safe, and there's law enforcement, and we have cameras coming. We're focusing on getting severely mentally ill people out of the subway system. So we have a plan to create that sense of safety, which is a barrier. I understand that. That's why Mayor Adams and I didn't just go into the subways in January. We were there 2 weeks ago, talking about how I'm now using state police, never before, state MTA workers to supplement the NYPD in their efforts. So we get it safer, get the riders back. We'll have the revenues generated from the ridership that's down right now. But what's happening is our streets are so clogged and congested. That has an economic cost. You cannot move around Manhattan. So we have to get people back on the subways, give them security, let them see law enforcement down there, let them know there's cameras watching people who might do harm to them, and that's how you get people back in the city.
Well, you know, he is against congestion pricing. Would you support postponing congestion pricing just for a little bit until we see the recession in the rearview mirror?
Right. There's nothing imminent anyhow. I want to let people know that. This was a long process. There's a lot of environmental reviews. The governor of New Jersey has requested additional reviews. Washington is involved. And there's a traffic mobility review board that is looking at the different populations that will be affected. So it's not even close to occurring anytime soon. So we'll wait and see what the headwinds look like with the national economy, whether the ship starts writing and you know, the job numbers are looking good. People are getting back to work. But we have to keep an eye on that because I'm not going to do anything to hurt this city. I love this city, I love this state, and I'll make sure that we do the right thing.
So in a sense, you're hoping that the governor of New Jersey, Phil Murphy, will be successful in getting the Biden administration to do more environmental studies, so it puts it off until the city's back on its feet.
I'm just saying that there's a path where that could be the outcome. I don't, on our side, regardless of a lawsuit, I'm just saying that that is something that could happen. I don't know if it will or not. You know, we want this to move forward, but it never was on such a fast track that's imminent. So it won't be happening anytime soon. We still don't even know anything about the different categories of drivers that may or may not be exempt. All that's under review. It takes a lot of time to get this right.
So we're not talking about congestion pricing happening tomorrow or even probably next year?
It's not happening anytime soon, no. That was not planned to be. So the timing is when I'm governor, we'll have a chance to assess other revenue sources. Already this year, to stop any fares from going up, we already said we'll use state money. Well, you know, we'll supplement the MTAs.
So you are going to stop a fare hike from next spring?
We're not looking to increase the fares. We're not looking to increase the fares on a product. We're trying to get more people back. I want more people back. I want them to use the subway.
Okay, well, we'll be right back with more from Governor Kathy Hochul. We're back with more from Governor Kathy Hochul. So my next question is this. On the economy, your opponent says that he wants to cut taxes. He talked about the estate tax and things like that. Is that realistic, given the fact that the state is anticipating a budget gap?
It's so irresponsible. And what we did this year is we focused on the people who are hurting the most. We cut middle-class taxes. We did that this year in our budget. We also had a $2.1 billion package for property relief rebates back to people right now when they need it the most. We cut our tax on gasoline when the price of gas was $5 a gallon last summer, and now it's dropped significantly. So there's targeted ways to do it, but if you're eliminating the estate tax, you're basically just saying, I want to help my billionaire friends. That's all. It doesn't help the small businesses. It doesn't help the small middle-class family. It doesn't help them. So he's saying, okay, you know, thank you for helping fund all these independent expenditures and dark money for my election. Here's your reward. And so it is irresponsible. We know what we have to do in New York. I literally had a surplus last year. A lot of pressure.
But you're not going to have a surplus this year.
No, but what I did, Marcia, was smart. Last January, when we did our projections, the year looked very good, and it was a good year. But I said, we don't know what the next year is going to bring. We set aside $9 billion in reserves.
Wow.
So we are actually going to increase it up to $19 billion in case the economy tanks, we end up in a recession nationwide, out of our control. But I have to make sure I'm protecting New York away from any increases in taxes whatsoever. But to say you're going to cut them, you're going to be cutting support.
Well, he's going to cut taxes. He's going to cut congestion pricing. He's going to cut all these. Where's the money going to come to run the state?
That's the big mystery. That's why it's good he's being called out on this, because you can run ads. I'll cut taxes. I'll cut crime. Where's the plan? How do you make that work? Give us a realistic...
On crime, he's going to say, I'm going to declare a crime emergency on day one. Okay. What does that do?
Nothing. 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 He's trying to mislead the voters, and they're catching on to this.
So if he says, I'm going to delay bail reform, I'm going to raise the age, all these, what he calls criminal laws, he can only do it for 30 days. So then what happens?
We changed the bail laws already. We already did. When I spoke about crime early on last January, I said, I went to the legislature. Let's fix some of the loopholes. Why are people who are repeat offenders or people who have gun cases, even unloaded guns, violations of order of protection, I want them all covered by the bail laws the way they have been. It still gives the judge discretion, and it's up to the whole system to work. And one thing I want to point out, the judges have discretion, district attorneys decide what to charge, but for 2 straight years, there were no jury trials. No criminal cases were brought. So people that should have gone through the system, either be determined guilty or innocent, it was all jammed up because of the pandemic. So we have this backload. So to say you do this one thing on day one and everything's going to be wonderful again, come on. Come on. We need a reality check here.
But you see, every day it seems like the headlines in the newspapers are bad crime happens, and the person who did it was out because they weren't held on bail. Your response to that? My
response is the law gives the discretion back to the judges. We created a higher number of cases that are bail eligible, especially the repeat offenders, people who've done it more than once. They should be held. I want everybody to make sure the system works that we put in place. Do we need changes again? I'll look at it, but we haven't even had a chance to analyze the impact of those changes that have just been in place. That's why the budget was late 9 days. I was criticized by a lot of people at the time. Why is the budget late? I wanted my first budget on time. I said, I'm holding it up until I get significant changes to the bail laws, and that's what we accomplished. So to say you're going to wipe it all out and that's going to save the state, it's just so disingenuous.
So when you say that you want to look at the data when you come back in January with the legislature, he says the data is already out there. We see the headlines every day. They should just change the bail laws. Your response to that?
It's not terribly thoughtful. Just say, let's go by what the headlines tell us and make changes. That's very Trumpian. That's very reactive and, you know, governing by Twitter and headlines. That's how Donald Trump got us all in so much trouble. That's how we ended up with election deniers and insurrections. And I mean, how can you say you're against crime when the biggest crimes perpetrated in our nation's history was the assault on our Capitol? People died in that assault. And where's the outrage there? No, Lee Zeldin goes back hours later, and votes to overturn the will of the people with the presidential election. People need to know who Lee Zeldin really is.
But what about the idea of dangerousness? I know that you've said that there was always dangerousness, but the truth is that there wasn't dangerousness when you passed cash bail. Do you think that that's something, since 49 other states have it, that should be considered?
I just want to be clear, it was never in place. Most of the criminal laws we have on the books were done under Rockefeller and Republican legislature. They never put in the word dangerousness. It has never been part of our criminal code. So I think people are trying to say, well, you took it out, you changed it. That's never been touched.
But 49 states now have it. Should we be the 50th?
It's something we absolutely can look at, but I just want to be, I have to deal in facts here too. That's not the reason. And if you look at the 49 states, you cannot talk about the New York bail laws as being the cause of crime all over the country. Our crime rate is better than other states. Well, I'm not satisfied. I'm not satisfied with where we are. We have more to do. But we have to just look at it in the larger picture, not just grab the headlines and say, oh, I can do this, and I'm going to get elected because I can say this.
So how frustrating is this for you? I mean, I have personally covered 10 press conferences here in the city where you have taken action on subways and crime and different things. So how frustrating is it for you to hear him constantly say, Kathy Hochul is soft on crime?
I understand why he's doing it. He's desperate. He has nothing to cling to. He's a Trump mega Republican who's anti-choice and anti-gun safety legislation. He's trying to redefine himself. He's trying to say, I've got this one issue that I think I can pull people over on.
So is he a shapeshifter?
Yes. He's trying to change his colors. He says things like, on abortion, nothing changed the day after a Dobbs decision. That's because I'm the governor. He's not. That's why it didn't change. So I have my faith in the voters of the state. I feel confident they'll understand who I am. I'm a fighter. I've been out there all this time just doing nothing but doing what's best for the people of the state. And you have someone who's trying to, put aside his deep relationship with Donald Trump. What happens when Donald Trump runs for president, as he's about to announce, and Lee Zeldin is one of his top supporters? That is a very scary scenario for New Yorkers.
So, Governor, last week on this show, Lee Zeldin said that he thinks teachers and school safety officers should be armed. How do you feel about that? Good idea, bad idea?
Your jaw must have just dropped. I mean, I don't know how you sit there and hear someone with such an absurd idea that the way to make children safe in a school is to let criminals know that there's a loaded gun in every classroom. No, the teachers are appalled by this. And I have worked so hard to keep schools safe as well. One thing we announced this summer as part of our overall crime strategy, giving money to local districts so every teacher's phone can have an alarm on it. You push the panic button and it goes right to a dispatcher, so no one ever questions whether or not there's a crisis or something bad unfolding. So we're doing smart things using technology, funding resource officers, funding security. But to put a gun in every classroom, this is the same guy who wants a gun on the subway. He wants a gun in Times Square, everybody. 400 million guns in this country, and Lee Zeldin thinks we need more in places like the city of New York and in our classrooms.
We only have about 20 seconds left, but I'm just curious, what about giving school safety officers who are outside some guns?
I support safety officers, absolutely, but to think a teacher who has to become a parent and a doctor and a therapist and an educator to now say they have to go get trained to be marksmen as well and hope they don't miss? No, heaven help us. Heaven help us.
So you're not in favor of that either?
No, I said outside security, but not teachers having guns.
Okay, well, we're going to have to leave it right there. But our conversation with Governor Kathy Hochul continues right after the show on our streaming network, CBS News New York. We'll be right back.